Hello, everyone. Hello, Go Mode podcast fans, and welcome on this Friday afternoon slash evening, depending on your time zone. We are going to have a exhibition of the bi-weekly seed today. I have myself, Adilor, on commentary. With me is McMonkey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for this podcast tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty good. So this is gonna be Invrosia, one of our up and coming modes we're looking at for ladder season 4. And so many of you are going to be completely unfamiliar with this. We'll take you through it step by step and explain things as we go. Basically, we're looking at it's inverted. Like Ambrosia, it has every boss is guaranteed to have an item from the pool. Not necessarily a progression item, but it'll have a pool item of some sort. It's an assured sword. We don't have an uncle hint because that's not possible in inverted. But and there's one other interesting change with this that is designed to kind of discourage one of the bad things about inverted people don't like is usually the early boss fights. Like you usually get forced to do like blind or moth really early, and that is shuffling the big keys. So we have key sanity is technically on, but it's only the big keys shuffled. Everything else will still be in their dungeons.
Yeah, I'm brand new to this mode. This is my first experience with it. I've seen the description of it before, but I'm very curious to see how it plays out. My understanding is, yeah, it's supposed to take a little bit of the sting out of inverted, created by Big Dunka, the ladder master and lover of inverted seeds.
Yeah, so we are going to get going here. We see both our runners starting at the house, finding a heart piece. So one of the interesting early challenges about inverted is finding money and bombs, because you're going to need 2 bombs to get into Hype Cave to get all 5 items out of it. There are some common strategies. What I like to do is try to get a tier 1 pull, see if it's bombs or money. And, ooh, that's only a green rupee. It's not enough. But if you can get 20 rupees and go to archery game, that's all the money you ever need. Or maybe you get lucky and find bombs. But inverted can be very
friendly.
So it looks like Floyd's going to go for trying to get some drops off the pig guards here, and TheDaddyGamers is going to head up north and check Bumper Ledge, and we'll see where he goes from there.
Yeah, interesting. He's saving quitting just after checking the item in Link's house. I know he's new to the Invrosia mode, and in fact, this is only his second inverted seed at all, so he may not be as familiar with where the tree pulls are and other details that are inverted specific.
Yeah, so there's the one tree pull that's really important to know is actually just right by Hype Cave. That those statues in the south area, the southeast one you can pull, and that will give you your tree pull, same as any other tree pull in the light world.
Yeah, it looks like Floyd already grabbed that one, and the TheDaddyGamers giving up on bombs for the moment, going to check the Village of Outcast checks that he has access to.
And there's some bombs in C-shaped house. That'll be nice.
It's interesting, is starting with a sword, you have access to all but one check in Thieves Town. So with so little available to you early in the game, that's got to be a high-value location and very tempting, although most runners don't want to go into Thieves Town without that hammer.
Yeah. So the nice thing, again, we do have Ambrosia does have the big keys shuffled, so we're only guaranteed 4 in the beginning in Thieves Town, unless we find that big key. Then we can definitely get 7.
And that's why I haven't run this mode yet, because I've already forgotten one of the parameters.
Also, TheDaddyGamers does not have any money for chess game. Kind of just muscle memory. You'll walk in here and get the chest. Nope, not quite.
Yeah, it's rare in a regular seed to get in there without enough money.
Yeah, inverted can do that. It's very tough. The difficulty is absolutely front loaded. You don't have a lot of checks available to you without having to go through some tough enemies. It's challenging, but rewarding. Oh, we have a map check. We've got Pendant Swamp, or Pendant Skull, Green Pendant TR, Red Crystal on Mire.
It's always a mixed blessing seeing Pendant TR, because it's nice to know you might not have to do TR, but it always seems to be required anyway.
Even Pendant TR will still have progression in it. That's just how this goes, yeah.
So Floyd discovering that our berries are in the bomb prize pack. I wonder if he's going to take the opportunity to do some farming here after he grabs the item in the back.
Very convenient. Yeah, there are a couple. Ooh, there's a lamp on Hype Cave. So Hype Cave has a lot of potential in inverted. There's a glove, and blue mail, and 300 rupees, and a moon pearl. I have to give it a 10 out of 10. That's an amazing Hype Cave.
Very good Hype Cave.
That solves a lot of problems right there.
It does, and it opens up a few more things for the Daddy Gamers. And meanwhile, Floyd taking the intentional death in Skullwoods and the ride from the hand. Looks like he's trying to clean up the front of Skullwoods here, get as many checks as he can in.
Yeah, so Skullwoods without the fire rod, you can still get up to 5 if you, no, 6 if you find the big key, but definitely 5. It can be a little tricky to route without any keys, but thankfully the small keys are still in the dungeon. Don't have to worry about that too much. It looks like he's gonna bail out for now. Stumpy's got a full heart. That's also nice. Hearts in inverted, very nice to find, because a lot of these Dark World enemies will deal like 2 or more hearts of damage, so you really don't have much to work with.
Yeah, with only 4 hearts, you're not far from one-hit KO mode.
Hot Prison is just a map. We're going to see Daddy Gamers getting us a look at Dig Game momentarily here. See how many digs it takes to find whatever is there. Floyd can you just dredging up more keys. Skullwoods, as we all know, has a bunch of keys. You don't need many of them. And just a heart piece on Dig Game today.
Yeah, so these checks that our runners are doing, they seem a bit spread out in the early game here in Inverted, in addition to the danger that Floyd is demonstrating.
Yeah, the overworld deaths in particular tend to be pretty common, at least in my experience. Like walking through Skullwoods, here are the Ropas. If you get one of them just in a weird spot and it jumps at you, like that can easily send you back to Dark Chapel. It's not difficult. It's not uncommon to see a lot of overworld troubles in early Inverted.
Yeah, and it's not as punishing as taking a death in the same location in Open Seed, but still not something you wanna have to do multiple times.
Yeah. All right, now we'll see our chest game. It's 10 arrows. All right.
Yeah, so aside from that glove, I mean, the lamp is a nice-to-have item, but, the glove is really the only bit of sort of progression we've got. It gets them a little bit... the goal here for Inverted is to try to get to the Light World, because there are just so many open checks once you get access to the Light World.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, once you get there, you usually have a lot of progression items by the time you get there. So you can generally run around and just kind of pick your favorite way to clean up most of the Light World. The inverted seeds tend to open up really hard.
Which I think opens up a lot more room for creative routing, we'll say. I think that there are multiple good routes and probably a lot of potential for bad routing when there are so many checks available.
Yeah, it definitely turns in. It can be like I don't know where to go because I can go everywhere. It's hard to decide. My best advice is to start in Kakariko and then just go one direction from there. Just go counterclockwise or clockwise. Pick your favorite. But yeah, depending on how you get to the Light World, you might. It kind of depends, honestly, where you find your pearl, because sometimes the pearl can end up in really tricky spots. Like last one of these I did was on Bottle Vendor, which means it was, of course, an Aga Seed. So you get to Bottle Vendor, and then you're like, oh, I'm in Kakariko. I have the pearl. I can do everything. So you just kind of pick your favorite way to go.
Yeah, I think there are some gotchas with the inverted item placement, what things are accessible with and without the Moon Pearl. As I understand it, you can do Aga and get all the way to the mire area if you have the mirror without the Moon Pearl and find your Moon Pearl, say, in Mire Shed.
Correct. So Mire Shed is definitely a valid candidate for Moon Pearl if you do have, if you end up having to have Aga access, which we do. We have one sword and a lamp, which since it's inverted, that tower is just open. So the GT entrance is now the Aga Tower entrance. And there's no barrier, so you just need to be able to reach Aghanim. So that is entirely logical right now.
And I think the mountain access is another gotcha for Inverted. The fact that Bumper Cave and the Old Man Rescue Cave have been swapped between Light World and Dark World so that you can get up here on the mountain and rescue the old man through the Dark World back into the Light World, as we see the Daddy Gamers doing.
You have to do this goofy little thing where you have to walk him up the mountain, and he's slow because he's old. You have to be really patient, get him up all these stairs. And then once he's in the Light World, he starts feeling a lot better. He can just kind of jump down a cliff with you, no problem. And then you got to take him home, and then you can actually kind of start checking out the mountain from there.
Yeah, I think it's important to take a couple breaks with the old man on the way up. It's a long walk for someone of his age. Make sure he's doing all right. You know, see, maybe give him something from your bottle if you've got a little bit of potion.
So having Pearl this early is nice, because usually, in my experience with these, you have to bunny walk him. But that's a green pot. All right, that was close with the one rock. Yeah. We're awarded with a free green potion. So now we've got one item inside Spec Rock we can get to. One that's on top we looked at, which was just a big 20. And then they'll also have access to Super Bunny Cave if they decide they want to try to get across the top of the mountain and brave the Lynels, which are terrible enemies for only having 4 hearts.
Yeah, those are one-hit KO. They will take all 4 hearts with Green Mail.
Yeah, just don't touch them. If you take a body hit, that's what does most of the damage. If you're going to get hit by a Lynel, take the projectile and then use the iframes to scoot past them. That's the good way to do it. Thankfully, they have blue mail here, so I think it's only 3 hearts for direct contact, but still, you don't want to take that.
Absolutely not. Yeah, my limited experience with Inverted, I have very distinct memories of being those Lynels being gatekeepers of progression.
Yeah, they're inverted. It doesn't have a lot of checks available. So you start off, you've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, like 15, 16, 19, that 20 some checks, which is about half of what you usually get in like a Sphere 1 Light World. So your items tend to be fairly condensed, and you can easily run into bottlenecks. And those bottlenecks can be like I said earlier, the bosses like Moth and Blind tend to be really tough, like low % boss bottlenecks. Especially if you find an early Fire Rod, you're like, well, it looks like we're going to be stuck by Moth again.
Yeah, it looks like the Daddy Gamers is foregoing the Super Bunny checks in favor of just beating Aga Tower to get that Light World access. Yeah,
so right now we've got, like I said, it's either Aghanim or there might be something in Super Bunny. Our checks are very limited. There's a good chance in Inverted, like a lot bigger of a chance that an Inverted C is going to be Aga as opposed to any other mode like Open or Standard, just because you tend to need it for Dark World access. Obviously, they've already got the Pearl. They just need to be able to get into the Light World and do stuff. Looks like Floyd's going to go ahead and try to get over to Super Bunny.
And so once the Daddy Gamers finishes Aga Tower here, where's he going to get spit out?
So he's going to come out on the castle wall. So in Inverted, the Light World, the Hyrule Castle wall, the 3 entrances up on top, 2 of them on the side still go to castle like normal. The middle entrance then becomes Ganon's Tower. And then once Ganon is open, the hole will appear in the middle of the wall. There's our pod big key and a 5 rupee. So it's definitely an Agaseed.
Yeah, and if I understand it correctly, there'll be a portal behind Link's house once Aga Tower is completed as well. That'll allow them to get back to the Light World should they save and quit.
That too, yes. So we will have, all you do is walk up north, like very much like if you're in a normal seed, standard or open, you walk up to take the portal under the castle arch. Now there's a new portal that's just south of the river. So you walk up there and that'll take you into the Light World right on the castle bridge.
Yeah, so the small gamble by Daddy Gamers ignoring Super Bunny Cave made sense here, is paying off. I think it was a sound decision getting access to a whole lot more items by doing Aga getting more flexibility. Oh, unfortunate death up in Aga Tower. I was just about to say that gave him a little bit of a lead over Floyd here, but now Floyd is going to jump right back into the lead with the Daddy Gamers having to start the climb all over.
Yeah, we're going to high five in this room. The weaponry situation, this one's, it's rough. They've got a sword. Usually there's a good chance you might have a hammer by the time you get in here, or like a fire rod or something. But this time it's, yep, we've got one sword.
Just fighter sword. That's a tough ask for some of these rooms.
Yeah, they do have the option of potentially loading up that bottle they got with something that's actually healing, but at this point right now they're just going to carry that green potion around. They don't really have anything for magic usage either, so it's not going to do them much good yet. One tip I like to give for inverted that people don't seem to remember a lot is the shop that's on Lake Hialeah shore, the northwest shore of the Lake Hialeah, which I like to call just Dark Lake Shop. In inverted has a different inventory. It sells green potions for 160, which is the same price as in the Light World potion shop. So if you find yourself having empty bottles and you have money, buy some blue potions.
That is a great tidbit that I did not know.
Yep, that's an inverted special. If you're in a normal seed, a standard and open, you will not find a blue potion in that shop. So it's a modification that makes inverted a little more. It's less irritating to go buy blue potions, basically, because getting a potion shop in inverted just sucks. Yeah,
because the flute, of course, in inverted only works in the dark world. So your nice flute to 2 to go to the potion shop is not going to work for you.
Yeah, and there are no portals close to the potion shop either. Like, pretty much you have to go from the house portal and walk all the way up to it. Yeah, the flute, yeah, like I said, works in the dark world. You still have to activate it in the light world, but once you do that, then you can flute around in the dark world. So we've got TheDaddyGamers on the dealing with the red guards here. Floyd's wandering behind him. These red guards are they're tough. They have a lot of health and they're very fast. So it's good to try to use the walls against them. Yeah, just you got to be patient through these rooms, honestly, especially with just fighter sword. Once you get into this one, you can throw pots. They do tempered sword damage, 2 for each. Get the key. There are some hearts in this room too. Once you're past this, you're pretty much good.
Yeah, the rest of the rooms are really just dodging enemies more than having to fight through them.
Yeah, you can ignore all these guards in the next room. This guy you might have to distract, knock off somehow. There you go.
It's unfortunate. Half a heart for the Aga fight is it's going to be a little scary. Any one of those blue balls that blow up, if he gives you any blue balls, they're going to kill him if he doesn't manage to dodge it.
Yeah, he got hit on the way down too. He was falling, so it took even more. So yeah, as long as he so for Aghanim, if you find yourself one hit mode, just I would recommend staying on the sides. If you're on the side of him to the left or the right, and about a tile and a half away, the blue ball explosion won't hit you because they'll go up above and below you. Just don't fight him vertically. That's all I can recommend.
Yeah, the horizontal spacing is a little bit important. If you're a little too close, you'll still get clipped by those blue balls. But it seems like TheDaddyGamers is staying a very safe distance away.
Yeah, he's not going for perfectly optimized hit times, but as long as you're a couple, like 2 tiles away, you're very safe. Yeah, just line up horizontally with him, you're okay. So we've got our simultaneous Aghanim fights. These guys are going to get into light world at the exact same time, pretty much, assuming they don't miss any cycles. And then from there's going to be a ton of room for divergence.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see which way they choose to go once they get the light world access.
Yeah, it's neat because when you get when you clear Aghanim, if you're using a map tracker, you can tell you've killed Aghanim. The entire light world opens up green. You're just like, oh, now where do I go? You can go straight to CAC. You can go through Castle. You can go for South Shore. The eastern area is going to be open, except the big key there. Yeah, I got a lot of options.
Yeah, and hopefully they've clicked their tracker at some point during the climb here to give them some time to think about where to route. That's always a good idea, to be thinking a couple steps ahead. Looks like Floyd's going right in for the front of escape.
DaddyGamers confirming this is a 7-7. So you get the signs there on the pyramid, will tell you your goal. This is Invrosia. Otherwise, is a standard. Well, not a standard, but it's a 7-7. So he's still going to get all 7 crystals and then climb GT in order for Ganon to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and I don't hate checking the sign. This is his first Invrosia seed. Just want to, you're in the middle of the seed. You want to confirm that you remembered all the details of it correctly. I think that's a wise thing to do there.
Yep, we found our big key to Swamp Palace on our first check-in castle. Not a particularly useful big key, but that's one item you can get when you're on your way through Swamp. Yeah, I like the castle play. One of my favorite, my usual checks in Inverted is the moment you're in there. If you've killed Aga, just drop right into castle because you're right there. You might as well. His DaddyGamers decided he's not going to put up with the castle guards and instead head to South Shore.
Yeah, interesting decision to skip the front of escape, going all the way down through. Have access all the way to the back of escape through the sewers, Dark Cross. DaddyGamers choosing not to go that way.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of divergence, and it's really neat from a race perspective. The dam has our desert big key. We don't know the prize yet. We might need that.
And Floyd's setting up a death warp here, which will get him back out to the castle entrance very quickly once this bomb explodes.
We find another fetch quest big key for Skull Woods. Again, opening just one check in a big chest.
So a somewhat stingy seed early on.
Yeah, so far not really giving out much for us, but thankfully we've got a lot more to check still. Floyd was thinking about maybe going to Dark Cross, but opting against that. And that's Castle's interesting and inverted because in order to get to the back of escape, you have to. It's a bit more walking.
Hey guys, Wes here. Discord's still broken, so I'm going to attempt to keep control of the situation here, but since I am now multitasking about 4 different ways, this could get interesting. All right, folks. Thank you very much for your patience while Discord sorted those issues out. Everything is back up, running, and operational. Thank you for your patience once again. And now I'll hand it back over to our commentary crew, McMonkey and Adilor. Thank you for your patience once again. Guys, take it away.
Thank you, Wes. Thanks for putting up with us when Discord decided to have a derp. But we are back indeed. We've got a list of items that have been found. We found our last sword. Okay, so we've got swords everywhere. let's see. We've got swords in Grave Ledge and one on Blind. Now we've got our last one in K45. So we're going to have easy 4 swords if they want to find them all. Floyd's picked up a Fire Rod and Blind Side out, a Flute, and an Ether and Cackwell. He found a Vanilla Bug Net. Love to see it. Meanwhile, TDG has he got a Thievetown big key, I believe in South Shore somewhere, probably made a Morum Cave. Went right to Thievetown with that. Got the flippers in the TT attic and a sword on Blind. So we are progressing at a rapid pace through this seed.
Yeah, and the mirror. I'm not sure where the Daddy Gamers picked up the mirror, but that's a nice item to have for Kakariko Village, as he is attempting to demonstrate, trying to find the right spot to mirror here to pick up the smith.
Yep, you're right. I missed that mirror entirely, so who knows? But yeah, so you've got a inverted smithing. Once you have the mirror, you can do this. You do not need a glove for it. You just basically got to put yourself in that like 2 tile space on right against the house, and then just go right back. And hey, there you go. Take them home.
Yeah, and this makes a lot more sense. I was wondering why the Daddy Gamers made a beeline right for Thievetown, but with that mirror, they were able to save their portal and pop right back into Kakariko Village. Do these checks along with Thievetown. This makes a lot more sense for routing. Floyd, meanwhile, is going to have to, if he wants to go into Thievetown right away, he'll have to double back on his route.
Yeah, I think we're going to see pretty quick probably what was in, I'm guessing all that stuff's in Mini Moldrum here, probably. Yeah, there's the big key, Thieves, yep. And a 50. And a bottle. And there's that mirror, yep, okay. Good, Mini Moldrum Cave, too.
Yeah, the benefit for Floyd, having gotten that flute, which Daddy Gamers will pick up in a moment here, is he can flute around the Dark World, but with no hammer yet, that's not all that useful for getting to Light World locations. Their only access to Light World being on that bridge portal near the castle. Yeah,
not much. Like I said, we're still waiting on the hammer. Hammer's a pretty big item in any world state, really. If you get an early hammer and inverted, it does let you do some additional walking, like getting over to the east part of Dark World, and then get up to Pyramid and Pod and Catfish. See, I feel like the hammer tends to pop up a little bit earlier than usual in inverted seeds. So it's a little odd to see it this late, but we'll find it sooner or later.
Yeah, and with the flippers that Daddy Gamers found in Thievetown, they now have logical access to the pod area as well. Although with no bow and no hammer, that area may not be as appealing as it might ordinarily be.
Yeah, and flute gets us there too, because you can always flute to 5. So once you've got the flute, that gives you logical access to Pyramid, Catfish, and Pod too. As long as you can get to Light World activated, of course.
That's another gotcha of inverted for those newer to the mode, like me.
Yeah, the Dark World flute is really weird. It's something you got to wrap your head around, because you got to think like it does get you to Mire, but you can mirror to Mire, of course, from the Light World. But it does importantly get you to the pod area, which can absolutely be a thing if like you end up having like your hammer on Pyramid or something like that.
And I'm not sure we got a Light World map check, so we don't know what our last pendant and red crystal are yet.
I haven't seen one either, no. TheDaddyGamers are getting their Fire Rod and Blind Side out. And then we already got the Flute and Ether from Cackwell. They're just pretty much cleaned up at this point. They're both kind of hitting places the other one's already been. So at some point, I imagine we'll start to see some dungeon action.
Yeah, it's very late in the seed to have only gotten dipped a single dungeon, but that seems to be the nature of the checks available to them. So, following each other's footsteps in a way, taking different routes to get to the same end here.
It's definitely a product of having the big key shuffle. If you don't have the big key for a dungeon, you kind of don't want to do it, because you'd rather do it in one trip. But we're starting to accumulate those. We got about half the big keys in the game so far. At some point,
Daddy Gamers heading back towards Skull Woods now with the fire rod and a tempered sword. Back of Skull Woods is not quite as scary as it was.
One of the other nice thing about Inverted is getting to the back of Skull Woods is you can just walk through the light world, which is an easier trip to get there, and then just mirror at the back. He was trying to decide where to mirror. He's got the checks up here. That's right. Those two.
Yeah, so Floyd is the first one into the back of Skull Woods here. I didn't track how many items he found in the front of Skull Woods, but I know we've got at least one on Moth, with all dungeon bosses having a non-key map or compass.
Correct. So with the Ambrosia special, putting a pool item on every dungeon boss means that every dungeon clearing dungeons is a little more valuable. And with the big key shit being shuffled, so in normal Ambrosia, like an open or standard, one item from every dungeon gets kind of shoved back onto the boss. But with the big key shuffled, that's one more item added to every dungeon pool. So actually, every dungeon has a little more value in Invrosia. So like Skullwoods, for instance, has 3 items as opposed to the standard 2.
Yeah, it really takes some of the muscle memory out of it, trying to think about where your value is, what are the chances of finding an item in a dungeon versus overworld checks, how long it takes to do overworld checks. I think something like Invrosia is interesting because it forces you to think on the fly, do a little bit of math in your head on the fly.
Yeah, it's very much a different mode to route, because you run into it, kind of the general philosophy is, again, with the big keys being shuffled, you kind of want to do more overworld stuff, but then when you look at your dungeon value, you think every dungeon's got one more item in it, so you have to kind of make that call, like, when do I start dipping these dungeons even if I don't have the keys for them?
And even if they're pendants, as Skullwoods is.
Yeah, Pendant Skull is 3 items. Pendant TR is going to have 6, actually 7 if you count the green pendant turn in itself. And one of these light world dungeons is also going to be a pendant, so 4 or 3 depending on which one it is.
Floyd perhaps being reminded by getting a pendant from Moth, doing his first Dark World check.
Yeah, can I look at the map sooner or later? It is important to know where those prizes are. He's picked an interesting spot to mirror here, but yeah, he knows where he's going, I hope. And DaddyGamers will be taking on Mothula. Mothula with a tempered sword and a fire rod, even without half magic, not much of a problem. They've both got a decent number of hearts going here. They got blue mail and looks like 9 and 7 hearts respectively. Now,
and a green potion as an emergency backup, which neither of them needed.
Nope, they're both doing okay. Ooh, there's a mitt in the Skullwoods big chest. Well, that makes that big key very good pickup.
Yeah, I mean, we both were sort of disparaging the only one item that Skullwoods big key unlocked, but it sure was a good item.
Yeah, picking up that big key and the fire rod seemed like a perfect time. Like, you may as well go back and clear up Thieves Town, or not Thieves Town, Skull Woods. Very good idea to do so. So the Titan Mitt in Inverted isn't as big of a deal. There's only one check in Inverted that is hard locked by the Titan Mitt, and that is King's Tomb. There's no way to get to it without being able to lift the black rocks. Anything else you can get to via some means, as long as you have like hammers, like one of the bigger items, and then like hook shot for getting across the lower side of the lower part of the mountain. But with this equipment, for instance, the Mitt does unlock East Death Mountain. So now they'd be able to get to Paradox, Spiral Cave, and the Floating Island.
Yeah, some of the areas where Mitts normally unlocks in a regular open mode, the Mire area in particular. You don't need mitts to get to an inverted.
Yeah, so like the mountain still has that open portal. Most of the portals, you need either a glove and hammer or 2 gloves to get to. But with having killed Aghanim and the fact that there is just a open portal on the mountain, you have getting to Light World is honestly it's trivial. And then getting around the Light World isn't too bad. It's not as restrictive as the Dark World in terms of walking through it. And then all you need is a mirror, and you can get pretty much anywhere you want in the Dark World. So the mirror is a great tool in, of course, any mode. But in inverted in particular, it's fantastic for people to get you into certain locations, like Mire, for instance. If you never find the flute, you can always get to Mire as long as you have the mirror.
Yeah, so some extra value there for the mirror, which is great. Get our first look at the Mire Shed, which doesn't have much of anything.
It's interesting to see value. Talking about mirror value, while like in a standard or open, the mirror opens up several checks. You talk about like checkerboard, mimic cave, K45. So those all in the Light World have their terrain modified. So you've never seen an inverted seed. So checkerboard, K45, the floating island on the mountain, and mimic cave. You can get to all of those in the Light World. A grave ledge as well. Like you can just walk up to it. So because you can't mirror to those locations, the terrain has been modified so they're all accessible purely from the Light World.
Yeah, and one interesting location that does become accessible with the mirror that I found out about is Turtle Rock. You don't need a medallion to get into Turtle Rock. All of the other entrances you can just go to in the Light World and mirror over to get into the big chest entrance, the laser bridge entrance.
So this is a great example right here, actually, of another one. The Lake Hylia Island. DaddyGamers spotted a Samaria there, said, okay, I need to mirror for that. Nope, just go up the stairs.
Yeah, and perhaps good timing there, finding Samaria and having the myth sitting in Skullwoods. As soon as DaddyGamers gets around to checking that Skullwoods big chest, he will have access to all of Turtle Rock except for Trinex.
Yep, and conveniently right next to Ice Palace, like they do have a fire rod. Yeah, that gets a nice easier trip through Ice Palace whenever they get around to it.
Yeah, so maybe that Samaria with Ice Palace being available may keep DaddyGamers from picking up his myths for a while.
Yeah, we are waiting on Hammer for Ice. I can't expect either of these guys to go into Ice without the Hammer, but having Samaria will make it a better trip, being able to Ice Break and go just straight to the right side. So, there's our Light World map check. We got a red crystal on Eastern and Pendant Hera today.
So Floyd getting a little off script on blind as well. Let's see if he can recover as well as DaddyGamers did.
Yeah, he should be okay. He's got 6.5 hearts. He can take a few hits here. No invulnerability items, but that should be more than enough health. And he looks like he's dodging pretty well, actually. Oh, he took 1 hit there. That was it. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive recovery on that blind fight. And he's rewarded with a butter sword.
DaddyGamers gets 2 more hearts in Waterfall Cave. He's up to 11. So since we're inverted, of course. Oh, go ahead.
Health is not going to be an issue for DaddyGamers or Floyd at this point now. With their sword situation and their heart situation, I think they're going to be doing okay, and half magic will just make that even easier.
Oh, yes, very nice. Yeah, the early game inverted tends to be so starved on health, and you do the tough bosses. Once you get into the Light World, you got all your checks knocked out. You're like, it feels nice because you've struggled through the early game, and then you're picking up all this health and armor and stuff, and you're like, 11 hearts blue mail. You feel invincible at that point.
Yeah, you've gone through the gauntlet and come out tempered, ready to go. I mixed my metaphors there, but you get the general idea.
It works. They've got tempered swords. Actually, no, Floyd got all 4 swords. Never mind. I missed him picking up the gold. Zora's got a 40% scam for today, and we've got a mushroom on the ledge.
Yeah, and like you said, with the potion shop being more difficult to get to an inverted, we'll see if TheDaddyGamers just heads right down for that turn in. Being newer to inverted, may just sort of muscle memory save him quick there. No, he's going to walk.
Looks like he's going to walk it. Yeah, it's pretty much just the best way to do it. You're close enough for this walk. It's not going to get any more convenient. Floyd's picking up the Smith, and we'll get to see in a moment what this mushroom turn in here. Well, we got a little bit of time. Want to say thank you to everyone who is watching today, who's tuned into the Go Mode podcast. If you don't know, if you're finding yourself here and you have no idea what the Go Mode podcast actually is, exclamation point podcast in the chat will send you to the website. Bi-weekly, a link to the past randomizer podcast talking about all sorts of strategies, techniques, things you probably don't know. Episodes out every other Wednesday. Check it out. You might learn a thing or two. We have a Discord, exclamation point Discord in the chat. We'll get you to our Discord server. We're a friendly bunch. We hang out, do casual races. We have a bi-weekly seed. So that's what this is our, with every episode comes a themed sort of bi-weekly seed. So it's an asynchronous race. You'll run through it once and then post up your time. You can join the leaderboards, talk about the seed after that. But that's what we're looking at here is the bi-weekly seed for this period, which is debuting the Invrosia mode because it's coming up in latter season 4. And you can see also in the chat we've got our runners and comment and crew for this restream, TheDaddyGamers and Floyd44. You can follow them, both their Twitch links there. I want to say thank you to McMonkey for coming with me today. Thank you for Renderer for giving us great tracking work despite the technical difficulties you have to go through. And thank you also to Wes for putting up with Discord being a butt and helping us keep the restream going as smooth as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this I just listened to this week's or this bi-weekly episode 57 of the podcast. It doesn't have anything to do with Invrosia, but I think it's interesting talking about some of the Light World locations and going into quite a bit of detail about times when you might want to visit the locations, times when you might want to skip them, as well as the usual news and notes around the Link to the Past community.
Oh yeah, I've ever since I stumbled upon the podcast, I find myself learning like a lot. I've been playing this game for a good couple of years or so now. I find myself like they'll often talk about things like, oh, I know about that already, but they'll still every now and then I'm like, I didn't know that. That's useful. I'll have to use that in a race from now on.
Yeah, absolutely. No matter how much you know about this game, it feels like there's always more to be learned.
All right, so Floyd is going to be giving us a peek at the desert ledge. So an interesting thing about inverted, getting in a desert is a lot harder. You need the book. You cannot mirror in a desert by any way that is considered race legal. So that is a big key on the desert ledge. Without the book, we're not getting that.
Yeah, very tantalizing to see that big key there. Nice to know, but can't do anything about it yet.
Still doing retracing. So TheDaddyGamers is going to get his, I think the Skullwood's big key is in this chest right here. Yep, there it is. That is going to get him his myth. Hopefully he goes straight for that. Because we're still lacking the hammer and hook shot that does open, like I said, some more checks on East Death Mountain. And we might actually be seeing that here from Floyd.
Yeah, he's running out of options without those myths. He could go complete Ice Palace, but that may not be a very palatable choice for him. Then again, going back for Skull Woods, it's just one check, so I can see why you would leave that.
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly what the individually haven't checked, but as far as what I know, I think but much of what we have left is I think the mountain up here, and I don't know if we saw either of them dip into the eastern area, go see what Sahasrahla has in his closet. I might have missed that if we did.
No, yeah, I haven't seen anybody go into that area either.
So yeah, with the myths, we can walk down here and grab this rock, which has the portal to the light world. Interestingly enough, all the portals to the light world are different colors inverted.
And this will give Floyd access to a boatload of items here on the mountain between, well, he doesn't have access to Hookshot Cave, but Paradox Cave alone is going to give him 7 items, along with Spiral Cave.
And the Daddy Gamer showing that portal there. So once you killed Aghanim and inverted, you got that nice little portal, takes you to light world. It's open. Like I said, that's another thing that diminishes the usefulness of the myths as compared to a standard or an open seed. All right, here we go. 5 items in Paradox. What do we have today? Ace Palace big key. Well, we've got another big key that opens 1 check and an ice rod right next to it. We're going to need that for Trinex, maybe, hopefully not, but just in case.
Yeah,
and a bow.
The bow is a very nice consolation prize, but if I am running this seed, I am not happy about having full TR access.
No, you don't want to have to think about green pendant TR while you're just like, oh, you're hoping just to be able to like slam through all your crystal dungeons and ignore the pendants. But so far, I don't know. That whole dungeon is pretty much opened up with this point. You've got Fire Rod, Ice Rod, and Samaria. So the nice thing about inverted TR is you can drop down to these mountain ledges and then mirror back to the dark world, and then you have access to these entrances. So Floyd's going to opt to take the western entrance here, which is interesting. Yeah, we don't have the TR big key yet.
Yeah, and I'm surprised at the dip into Turtle Rock, having just picked up that bow, because that bow, I guess, we don't have the Eastern big key, so we have a few checks in Eastern and a few more in Pod available, but neither dungeon can be completed with the current loadout. So perhaps hoping to just single dip those.
Yep, I mean this seems reasonable to me. You're missing the hammer for Pod and the big key for Eastern, and you do want to do single run through those dungeons. So, and you're right there. You just got full access to TR. You may as well just kind of check it out, see what you find. So. And you can run a lot of different routes for TR and inverted. It's kind of however you feel like you want to do it. The big key's a little restrictive on that, but you can kind of run. You can start for the most part. You can run backwards because you see, anytime you go through one of those like that key door right there, if you come up through it backwards, you don't spend a key on it. So. You actually end up only needing like a couple of small keys to fully traverse TR in reverse.
Which does make it nice and does open up the possibility that you never have to do that first floor. If you clear out Laser Bridge, Lava Chest, Big Chest, and you find all the small keys you need, and the rest of the keys are just upstairs, you could skip those checks. It takes a bit more mental tracking than I'm usually capable of doing while running a seed, but theoretically possible.
Also, hello, Floyd. Welcome to the chat. I'd like to remind everyone this is a pre-recorded restream. We are not live, so our runners are very much able to be in the chat and provide commentary on what's going on. All we ask is that they don't spoil anything we haven't seen yet.
All right, so now we're going to get our first look at the Eastern Pod area from the Daddy Gamers.
Another nice thing about Pod is getting to it inverted is a lot nicer. You don't have to walk through the more of a maze-like area that the Palace of Darkness area is. You can just walk right up to it and then mirror to the back. You do still have to pick up Kiki, but it's still less of a chore. Or single arrow, and another full heart, and $50. Not exciting at all.
Not worth the wait. Floyd, heading into Ice Palace. Interesting choice here without the hammer. I misspoke earlier when I said we can complete Ice Palace with their current loadout. Can't actually complete Ice Palace without that hammer.
Yeah, this is an interesting choice. It's it's very tough to want to go into ice without the hammer. Without Samaria, not as big of a deal. You can still access the dungeon, but missing the hammer means there are several checks in here you just can't get. You definitely can't get to the boss, and the 3 checks on the right side, if you're not ice breaking, are also not accessible. There are 2 checks on the right side, not 3. But yeah, which is I don't know. I've had to make this call before. I mean, it does happen. You'll occasionally have the hammer in Ice Palace. It sucks. It's one of the worst things in the game, but
it's right up there with hammer and first check of swamp for worst locations for an item.
Yeah. The hammer is just so useful in this game. We need it for so many things. It's there are some trolley locations it can be, unfortunately. TheDaddyGamers finds the powder in right side eastern.
Yeah, so really both of our runners searching for that hammer at this point. The hammer is really going to open up more of the seed for them. Only a couple items needed for go mode besides the hammer. We need the hook shot. TheDaddyGamers needs to pick up his bow, and we need the book to get into the desert.
Yeah, that and the Eastern Big Key will get us through Eastern, of course. And then at that point, we're just missing.
A few big keys
Access.
remaining. Pod, Big Key, Eastern Big Key. We don't need the Ice Palace if we're ice breaking, and we don't need Swamp at all. So getting there.
We'll need access to Mire too, by way of either hookshot or boots. But those are again items that are needed for other dungeons. So, not necessarily boots. Desert might not be boots locked. We've got the big key for it, so probably don't need boots. But it'll still be nice to have boots. We want them.
Yeah, boots are always nice, even if they're not required. And the sooner the better.
Like coming up empty on ice so far, but we do have the big keys. We can see what's in the chest. There's our hook shot on TheDaddyGamers' side in the 5th check in Eastern. That's a good find. That takes Swamp Palace and turns it completely green. We can full clear that dungeon.
Well, not without the hammer. We can only get a single check in Swamp until we get that hammer.
Oh, right. I have the hammer clicked on my experimental tracker. My bad. I'm a dummy.
Happens to all of us.
I was theorizing about what we could do, and I got myself excited on accident. I'm sorry.
Oh boy, that was a really interesting mirror location for the TheDaddyGamers. I didn't know you could even get into that spot. This seems to be a common theme, and I imagine is a bit of a learning curve for people starting out with any inverted mode, is where can you safely warp?
Yes. Learning where you can mirror and invert it is there's a lot to be said for it. It takes some experimentation. You might just load up a seed when you're just doing some practice time and just kind of play around with it, see where you can and can't mirror. I found an interesting one myself just 2 days ago in Mire Desert area. I mirrored myself up onto, I remember it wasn't inverted, but I managed to mirror myself up onto the little ledge that surrounds the west desert entrance. And I was like, I didn't know you could stand up here, and it didn't mirror bonk me. It was really unusual.
That is very strange.
I don't think it's useful, but it was neat to see. All right, so Pod first chest is going to give us a key. We are not bow locked, which is good news for TheDaddyGamers, so he can continue.
With a potion in hand, might still be able to continue if they know how to do the potion limit clip, but obviously a lot easier without having to do that.
Yeah. Also, if we got 2 keys, we're fine. Yeah. We are not bow locked in Pod, even by the second chest.
of course, the front of pod always containing 4 small keys. So the back of pod has almost all of the value. So we want to try to get back there.
And there's a compass. Technically, we could still end up locked up here if we don't find another key. This may still be logically bow locked. Now we've got one. Okay.
So Floyd bailing on the Ice Palace, I imagine he will instantly see the item that would have made his Ice Palace dip significantly easier. It's an unfortunate sequence.
Yeah, got us some air at least. And it looks like we are going to see a potion unlocked for TheDaddyGamers here. Set up for make sure you use a little bit of magic. Yeah, it's fine. And then use a potion while walking left, and make sure never touch a directional once, except up once you hit the wall, and then go to the door. Magically, the camera's unlocked. You can drag them and mix off screen, and then the game thinks they're dead and opens the door. This game is well programmed.
Easy peasy. Yeah, I have a lot of sympathy for game programmers in general. The restraints, the constraints that they had to work under in this era to be able to fit things onto a cartridge.
Oh, there's our hammer in pod. Oh,
that is a pretty evil location for the hammer.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was just that's our big item there. I mean, absolutely continue.
No, it was a very hard job to program in the console era back then. There were a lot of constraints. A lot of these consoles, these programmers were having to not only code the game logic, they're coding the display logic for what pixels are being rendered onto the screen and when. All of that taken care of by GPUs these days. It's a very complicated problem to solve. And it's easy to look back now and laugh at some of the issues, but I don't imagine it was a simple task.
Oh, I can't imagine. No, you having to basically write machine code to develop these games. It's I don't think there's I have nothing but respect for game developers having to work with consoles like these. We're gonna see a hammer jump from TheDaddyGamers, which got a little off on the pixels. One more pixel to the north. Nah, you're too far. Oh, one more. Nope, too far. Nope. So close.
Using
there it
all
is.
of the pause buffers, he gets there.
Don't have the big key yet.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to find it in this dungeon either. This is so we still don't have the pod big, which means well, he doesn't have the pod big. We've seen it. Floyd has it. I forget where we got it, honestly, but so he's not going to find it. That's a big key. Oh, I imagine he got excited there actually, because you find, oh look, a big key in the dark. Oh, it's Eastern.
Yeah, and without the bow, can't do much with that Eastern big key yet either.
I want to say maybe the pod big even was in Paradox, maybe.
Yeah, I believe it was up on the mountain. So that Eastern area is going to be quite valuable to Floyd whenever they make their way over there.
Super Bunny according to Oro. Thank you. So yeah, he needs to get up on the mountain post haste and get all those items that are going to unlock the rest of the dungeons for him.
So double dips of Eastern and Pod for the TheDaddyGamers, but picking up very valuable items in the first dip there.
Yep, the hammer does a lot for opening up. I notice he's got hammer hook shot. Now I can say we can get into the into swamp and take care of that. Hook shot Samaria also guarantees that you can logically get through Ice Palace. As long as you have the hammer to get
several options here for TheDaddyGamers that may keep them away from the mountain for the time being.
Yeah, at this point, I wouldn't blame him. When you've got a bunch of dungeons that open up, you think, okay, well, my crystal dungeons are open. Why not go do those instead of anything else? Because you may just find the items you need and be able to just not have to check anything else. That is a very sound way to play the game.
Yeah, particularly those two dungeons, which don't require their big keys to be beaten, logically or otherwise. Oh, excellent point by Jay Misher in chat, pointing out with the flippers in the attic of Thieves Town, that puts the pod area in logic where the hammer is. So our runners didn't actually have to beat Aga in order to get Light World access.
Didn't they? Remind me where the Thieves Big was again. I forget.
The Thieves Big. Oh no, so you're right. The Thieves Big was in Mini Moldorm Cave. So
yeah, and that was yeah. So yeah, what Oro is suggesting here is a kern jump, which is a sequence break. But yes, with the kern jump and pod camera unlock, potion camera unlock, or whatever the P is, yes, you can absolutely skip Aga 1 with those two sequence breaks. So that's a thing about inverted is the kern jump becomes significantly more useful because there's a good chance that something you need is an East Dark World, like in Pod in particular. And if there is, if it's like a hammer, which gets you so much more world access, you may have a logical Aga 1 seed that you can absolutely skip.
yeah, good news for Daddy Gamers. They made the choice to go up the mountain to Paradox Cave. They're going to get their the big key they need for Pod, assuming that they're going to go to Super Bunny Cave, get the bow that they need to complete Eastern Palace. And just as a nice cherry on top, get the ice big key so that they can check that big chest whenever they decide to go there.
Yep, ice is definitely a good option. Now you've got Samaria, Hookshot, Hammer, Fire Rod, Tempered Sword, Blue Mail, 12 Hearts. That dungeon should not be scary at all.
So that brings the list of required items for Daddy Gamers down to Book and Desert Pig. Oh, no, they have Desert Pig already. Excuse me.
Yep.
It's just the book.
Yeah. Assuming we don't need the boots for anything. Yeah, we should be a book away from go mode. And our Mire medallion. Did we see our Mire requirement? Oh, it's Ether. Yeah, we have that. Okay.
Ether, yeah.
And our Mire big key too, because I don't think we have that on either side. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a fair point as well.
Yeah, we are getting there. Not too far away from go mode. So there's an interchange. You can see Floating Island has a nice little bridge to it. You can just walk across. No need to trek through Hookshot Cave.
Speaking of Hookshot Cave, we're going to get our first look at the items in here. We got a piece of heart, a piece of heart, $20, and a Quake medallion. So Hookshot Cave not providing any value today.
Not really, no. We can deal with dead rocks now, so that's nice.
Yeah, it is satisfying to turn them into little bags of goo.
With how terrible they are, it is sometimes you just have to do it. It's extremely therapeutic. And there's his pod bag from Super Bunny.
We're going to see Floyd going into Pod. He will get his hammer and be able to complete Pod since he already has the big key. He'll pick up his Eastern big key, and with his portal real close, he'll be able to finish Eastern as well. Yep. Meanwhile, Daddy Gamer's heading right back to that area.
Yeah, we're going to see these runners. I think we're going to see a cross-world high five. They'll be both in the same dungeon, just in different worlds.
So at this point, I have to expect that they're going to be clearing the crystal dungeons that they have access to at this point. There are no more high-density overworld locations available to them. They've got several crystal dungeons that are full clearable, and only a couple items from go mode.
Yeah, the only tricky part at this point is going to be whether they have to dig into Pendant Hera and or Pendant TR to find that book and the big keys they're missing. But hopefully, yeah, they've got a bunch of crystal dungeons we can get through. Hopefully they'll be able to just find those items naturally and not have to go out of their way.
Floyd wisely not doing the hammer jump there with no keys. He would have been stuck in the dark maze.
Not so bad with mirror, but yeah, not exactly an ideal route.
And that's another change to routing logic here. Coming through a pod normally, I would not recommend someone skip the bowlock side before coming into the back, just in case the big key's there. But we already have the big key with the big key shuffle in Invrosia, so that opens up some opportunities to route pod a little differently than you normally would.
We've got the TheDaddyGamers in the back of Eastern, got the key off the Igor, just a couple rooms away from fighting the Armos Knights, and we'll get to see what they have for us. So again, Invrosia has the Ambrosia special of there's an item on every boss, so we've got possibly something waiting for us. Could be a big key or a book. And Pod Big is just a map.
So, I'm not sure what's happening here. Floyd leaving pod.
He didn't do the bowlock side. Interesting.
He did not. So he has not gotten his hammer. Maybe got excited by that Eastern big key, deciding to go complete Eastern.
Maybe so. Yeah. I mean, this is okay. It's not optimal, but it's okay. He can mirror back to pod after this, so hopefully he realizes they didn't check the two chests on the right side. TheDaddyGamers has taken care of the Armos Knights. One more crystal in the bag.
Yeah, unfortunately not a valuable item on the Armos Knights, but it is a required crystal, so it's always good to rack those up.
Yeah, we're gonna need all 7. Sorry, Floyd. We've got you on stream here. We can't stop. We got to watch.
If Discord servers going down doesn't stop the restream, then certainly bad decision making isn't. To answer Great Corbin's question, the hammer is on the bowlocked side of pod.
Yep, specifically the arena ledge chest.
So we got TheDaddyGamers heading back to fight Almasaur, and Floyd heading upstairs to fight the Armos Knights. Dueling Eastern area boss fights. So I think the next play here, Swamp makes a lot of sense. It's got the item density, and especially with Floyd having already dipped Ice Palace, there's not a lot of value to going back to Ice Palace early. I think going into Desert, getting all 7 of your items that you can get from Desert makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, 7 checks in Swamp. It's very appealing. Yes, and you have to do the dungeon as a crystal, so we're going to want to go there sooner or later. Probably sooner. Floyd will take down the Armos Knights, picks up his Eastern Crystal as well, while TheDaddyGamers is going to beat up our Helmsar.
And Helmasaur goes down. A pretty easy fight with the loadout that TheDaddyGamers has.
Oro, I think the big key chest in Eastern was the hook shot, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Oh, I get why that's a relevant ask, because it looks like Floyd gambled the Eastern big key chest. That is an unfortunate decision. I wasn't quite watching while he was going through, but now that I look, I'm like, there's no hook shot in that inventory.
Yeah, I wonder, and maybe Floyd can answer it in the chat if he's still here, if this was an Invrosia specific mistake, counting 3 items, knowing one of them's on the boss, thinking that the big key chest doesn't have an item in it.
Oh, maybe. He might be right.
With that big key shuffle adding an additional item to the dungeons, it can really throw off your dungeon item counts.
All right, so he's got his hammer now. Getting caught up on that. He can now clear the dungeon.
Getting into Swamp Palace is also just a little bit easier in Inverted.
Yeah.
Get there in the light world, and you can just mirror back to the dark world.
Saves you one world transition. Yeah.
I'm an impatient runner. Any world transitions I can save, I am happy.
Oh, absolutely. We do all want to get through the game as fast as possible, after all. So we are still in full clearing dungeons mode because we've got a couple of big keys we're still missing, and that all-important book. Does he have the hook? I had to look at the menu again, but apparently J-Mix, saying Floyd does have the hook shot. Maybe we missed it.
Well, that would be good news for Floyd. I mean, still not the most efficient routing in the Eastern and Pod area, but if he did not skip that big key chest, that'll save him some heartache.
Yeah, at least he doesn't have to go back into Eastern to find that. Yeah. They might just be missing the hammer and hook shot on the tracker. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see if the TheDaddyGamers chooses to take that key they just picked up and use it to diver down the left side of Swamp right away, or whether they will clear the back first. I think generally with a few items left for go mode and the extra item in the dungeon, I think one of those rare times where it's a good idea to go just pay the cost of going to do left side of Swamp. Although
Yeah, with being 2 items away, I would say you go just straight for it. Just clear it out, get everything. That way you know the dungeon's clean. You don't have to come back in here for it.
Yeah, but he immediately picks up the book after saying that out of the big chest.
Well, there you go.
So I think then, yeah, it makes a lot of sense now to go right to the back, see if you can get your final item for go mode here, the Meyer big key.
Yeah, Gumbo -1 is a lot more... it's a lot more flexible in terms of skipping stuff than Gumbo -2, that's for sure. Especially with Swamp, because it's not terribly much more time to go back in to get left side. The route straight to the back, you might just pick up what you need on the way.
Yeah, for sure. And if you can save that left side Swamp, that saves you a decent bit of time. So Floyd opting to go finish Ice Palace rather than going into Swamp. Not a bad decision. I mean, there's still the item on the boss here. You got to get it done. It doesn't really matter. And if if you get super lucky and find what you're looking for here in the first couple swamp checks, then you can go mode the rest of swamp.
Yeah, this is an all right decision. I got through it. That was an interesting way to get stuck on the wall for a moment. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. There's if you get a diagonal, you need to be pressing cardinal up or down when clipping through that rail. If you get an accidental diagonal in there, it looks like you're getting caught, but really you just need to regrip the controller and get a solid diagonal or a solid cardinal direction.
Got it. Okay. So let's see. Right side ice did have another bottle for us in another form of a free green potion.
Okay, DaddyGamers finishing up Swamp Palace and going right back to the portal above Swamp Palace. Curious, I guess he's probably heading down to Desert Palace at this point.
I'd expect desert. Maybe he's gonna. Not sure actually. Actually, I wonder if he's going for Ice Rod Cave. I don't know if he got that earlier.
Or might be heading for Ice Palace, not remembering that he could have just walked there in the Dark World.
Maybe, yeah. You can just mirror. Well, you can mirror here. Yeah, that's it. He's going to finish off ice. Okay. And our prize on Coldster is a bomb pack. Nothing exciting.
It is odd to have a seed where mitts are not required. I'm not sure if that's even logically possible in a normal open seed, but clearly it's possible here in Invrosia because DaddyGamers can complete the game without ever getting those mitts.
Yeah, and a standard open 7/7, you definitely need the mitts because there's no way to get to GT without them. But here, GT is just on the castle wall. It's in the place of Aga Tower. And the only check that hard requires the mitts is King's Tomb. Anything else can be accessed by other means. Well, those mitts are nice to have. They let you get to some places without, say, like Hookshot Hammer for mountain access. They are not as big of a deal.
Yeah, it almost seems like the mitts and the mirror kind of swapped roles between inverted and open, where mirror is nice to have, helps you get around a little bit better in an open seed, but not always required. And that seems to be the role of mitts here as well. Inverted.
Yeah, in a standard and open, you can as long as swamp is a pennant and none of those transitional checks have something you need, you can have a mirrorless seed. Yeah, very much the same with inverted. As long as King's Tomb doesn't have a required item, you can end up with a mittless seed.
So our runners swapping places here. DaddyGamers now finishing Ice Palace and Floyd diving into Swamp. He'll get his book in a few minutes.
I'd imagine after this, we're probably going to see a trip into Desert next, because they'll both have access to it after this, and they've both got, like, that seems like the next thing to do is to go to Desert, take care of that, and then you can mirror out and take care of Mire, assuming you've got the big key, which is starting to look like we could just have the Mire big key in Mire at this point.
Yeah, and that's always a tough gamble, looking for a Mire required item in Mire. It takes so long to clear the dungeon. Only 2 items, 3 now with the big key shuffle. One of them's on the boss, so you can only get at 2 if you're looking for the big key. But yeah, I agree. Desert next makes a lot of sense. You can get the 3 items there. And then you're right there for Mire. So I can see why it would be tempting to just dive right into Mire.
I think we could also see. I wonder if Floyd will go for left side swamp. I'm kind of hoping we get a look at it just to see whether something's there.
No, he's skipping it for now. Yeah, I would be tempted to check left side swamp here, if only to help stave off TR. Because if you go to a desert and you don't find what you need there, you got bad choices remaining. You've got some scattered overworld checks. You've got checking Mire without all the items you need to complete it. And then you've got Pendant Hera and Pendant TR. Neither of which you can even complete logically because they don't have the big keys for either of those.
Exactly. Like at this point, I'm thinking if you find like say if that Mire big is a left side swamp and you leave that alone, you go everywhere else. You've created another mountain trip for yourself for one, and a lot of extra dungeon checking.
Yeah, and especially in inverted where the mountain checks, you could theoretically get through an inverted seed without ever going to the mountain. It'd be hard to do. There's a lot of items up there. But
oh yeah,
with GT moving to the castle, there's not really any need to go up the mountain. So minimizing those mountain checks or mountain trips is definitely advantageous.
Yeah, obviously we had a ton of progression on the mountain, so it was definitely necessary this time. But yeah, if you with pendants up there, and if you get light world access without Aghanim, yeah, you could theoretically have a mountainless inverted seed.
And Floyd pointing out in chat that he knew at this point. We saw him check Desert Ledge earlier. There is a big key there, so maybe not as big of a gamble skipping left side swamp, knowing that there is definitely a big key available to him once he picks up that book.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's about at this point it's a 1 in 3 because we know it's either the Hera, Mire, or TR big. As a reminder, the GT big key is still in Ganon's Tower. There's a special modification to the code for this mode specifically that still guarantees the GTBK is in the tower itself. So we will still get to play our Guess Where the Big Key game is once we're getting ready to climb the tower. Well, go into the basement, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and of course we'll request that anybody who has played the seed refrain from guessing in the big key guessing game.
Yeah, I don't think we'll even run the game on this one. We'll just pose the question and leave it at that. Because yeah, being this is the bi-weekly seed, a bunch of people have played it. There's a lot of advanced knowledge.
On the other hand, if you can remember seeds you've played more than a day later, I applaud your memory.
Right.
And that is a small key on the Desert Torch.
So what that tells us is that our boots are somewhere in logic, because with that key on the torch, landmos are logically inaccessible, because the logic assumes you're going to steal a key from the back and use it to open right side. So we're not supposed to kill landmos yet, but obviously we can.
Yeah, that's a really interesting quirk of the logic, and our 1 in 3 shot paid off.
There it is. That's go mode.
The Mire big key, and he's in go mode at 128. And it looks like TheDaddyGamers is following behind and will get go mode in just a couple minutes behind Floyd here. So despite the vastly different routing, it looks like our runners are going to be pretty close to each other in terms of when they hit go mode, and have completed the same number of dungeons at this point in the seed.
Yeah, we're not terribly far apart at this point, no. Makes me curious where those boots are going to be now if they're logically accessible. I'm going to have to say probably somewhere in Mire. We might not even see them at this point because they're very much just kind of go mode through these last few dungeons.
If there's a useful item that you didn't find and you didn't dip TR, I'm saying it's probably in TR.
Yeah, we have had TR access for a bit. Obviously, we can't clear it, but we can get most everything else in the dungeon. It wouldn't surprise me. All right, that's Landmo's down for Floyd. And we've got just one more crystal to get.
It should be very quick to get there with just a mirror back to the Dark World. Again, presents an interesting dilemma if you're not used to inverted. Of where do you mirror in order to best get to the Mire entrance?
Yeah, that north, whatever those little statue things are, is pretty safe. You just rub against it because it corresponds in the Dark World to where that plant-looking thing is. And DaddyGamers got his Mire Big Key at 1:30:36, right behind. Not far behind at all.
Yeah, about 2 minutes difference between the runners at this point.
Yep, so this could very much be a execution battle at this point. Very close race. We could see this be decided by GT routing to find the big key.
Yeah, 2 minutes certainly well within the range of GT routing.
Given that we have Mire Big, it's Mire with you have the big key already is fantastic. You basically just it's nice, so nice going straight to the back. Literally have to check nothing in this dungeon. It's so nice.
Yeah, it certainly makes Mire a lot nicer to get through. Searching for items in Mire is just miserable.
Yeah, you have to go across this big central room so many times to go back and forth to get a key and hit a switch and then decide whether you're going to do cutscene chest and you're going to walk across. And it's not a fun dungeon, honestly. It is aptly named Misery.
Yeah, and the Samaria room here living up to the Misery moniker as well. Floyd getting bullied by the Medusa statues in there while trying to place the Samaria block.
It's that room sucks. It's a terrible room, especially when it's dark. If you're trying to do dark Mire, it's just one of the worst things. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, and with no fluting to a portal, is there any opportunity to do spooky in Mire in an inverted seed?
I'm pretty sure you could still set it up because the setup for it is you still have to just get the duck at a specific altitude when it leaves the screen. I think if you knew how to manipulate it, you could still do it. You just have to be careful not to use certain items that reset the value. But I think you could treat it the same way.
Okay, yeah, and I do know there's a way to reset spooky even within Mire. Once you get past those first two dark rooms, that's a lot more difficult to pull off, and you need boots for it, so it wouldn't be an option for these guys anyway. If you throw a Samaria block into the pit where you hit the crystal switch, and then that'll reset your spooky, and you can hit the anti-fairies in the next room while dashing up so that the splash damage is still active when you scroll the camera up far enough. I think I've only seen Andy pull it off.
I was not aware of that. That is something I may have to check out later just to see how it works, because I'm now curious. All right, Floyd has taken down our Vitreous. He has got 7 crystals. You know what time it is.
It is time for the Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game. There are 22 locations in
real
Gannon's Tower.
Real quick, get your guesses in because he's going to be on the tower right now.
So you got about 3 more seconds to get your guesses in.
We got simultaneous 22s. I'm going to go with my usual 18.
Yeah, I'll go with 19.
Yeah, nice thing about having taken out Aghanim in an inverted seed, get the light rolled, save and quit, you're on the castle wall. It's right there. It's the easiest way to get right back to the tower.
And I gotta say, I much prefer that to the long climb up to Gannon's Tower and the regular open light world seed.
It is quite preferable, yes.
By the time you've gotten all 7 of your crystals and you're on your way to Gannon's Tower, I just want to be there. I just want to get the seed over with.
Yeah, you just want to be done. Well, you got the fun part of it out, figuring out the puzzle of how to get through the seed. Now you're just like, all right, now we're in Gannon's Tower again. There's no puzzle in Gannon's Tower. You just got to do it.
We see Floyd here in Compass Room with checks 3, 4, 5, and 6, none of which are the big key.
And our unique 10 bomb item. DaddyGamers take a little bit low on health on the victorious fight, taking an emergency heal just in case. Doesn't look like he's going to need it.
Isn't that always the way? You use the emergency health, and you don't take another hit for the rest of the fight.
I like to call that a confidence boosting drink.
Yeah, I think that's a good description for it.
All right, check number 8 is a red rupee. Check number 9 is a red rupee. Check number 10 is 3 bombs, and 11, a red rupee. Was anyone surprised? I wasn't.
The red rupee rando room.
Did you know there are 28 red rupees in the item pool? 28!
That's a lot of moolah.
That's a lot of big 20s. They're scattered everywhere.
Yeah, and DaddyGamers showing off that he's a bit new to the inverted seeds, not knowing about the save and quit that Floyd shut off, so he's going to fall even further behind, taking the long way to the top of the castle.
Yeah, lose a little bit of time here. Not too bad, because it's still a fairly quick trip from house, but yeah, he'll be giving a little bit more time for Floyd to keep a lead here. That being said, if he goes straight to the left side, he'll make up a little bit of time. And looks like we're going to see right side. Nope. Big key to this dungeon in the Fire Snake room. If you guessed 13, I think that was 13. Nobody guessed 13. We were 16 or higher, so no winners today.
Yeah, it looks like 16 was the closest. Congrats to Amilas.
Well, I'm not giving any of my points away because nobody hit it exactly.
Well, they can at least have some pride at being the closest.
Unless we're using Price is Right rules, in which case nobody gets anything because we all went over. Oh, Fly getting bullied by the BMOs here, down to 2 hearts. Got to be careful.
Well, if we went Price is Right rules, then Oro would be the closest with 7.
Oh, Oro did guess 7. That's true. Trinex, why did you say 0? I would like to know why exactly you said 0.
Well, just in case the GT big key was shuffled with the rest.
In case there was an error. Oh, Floyd got bullied by the Igor there. I don't think he does have a fairy.
He does have a fairy, yeah.
When did he get that? I forgot.
He picked those fairies up. I believe it was in Ice Palace. He dropped through the pots to the fairy room.
Oh, yeah, I missed that entirely. Okay, good. Well, that worked out well for him. Courtesy of our vanilla bug net in this seed. Love to see it.
Yeah, bug net doesn't get enough love. It can be quite the valuable safety, as Floyd just demonstrated. Floyd using the paralyzation technique here and they start out the gauntlet. I like it. Stunning all the enemies with the hook shot. Those those Stalfos can be a pain.
You got small magic on the stun price too, so there's a potential for maybe using the fire rod a little more liberally to kill off enemies and knowing that you can refill your magic easily.
I mean, and with quick swap, hot swap in between hook shot and fire rod, you get free refills of your magic. Stun them with a hook shot, fire rod to kill them, and get your refill.
I'll always recommend if you have half magic, fire rod and gauntlet is a great tool. It kills those red Stalfos just without even having to wait for them to burn. They just die instantly.
Yeah, the climb, the gauntlet in particular, is a bit more annoying without boats. But Floyd making his way through land mode 2. Nicely done with the fire rod there. TheDaddyGamers just a couple of rooms behind.
Yeah, the Fairy Death did lose him a little bit of time, so he'll be able to. It's still a race. Like you could still definitely see a shift in who's winning here, but we'll see. Depends. It's all down to execution now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what. Maybe someone in the chat can tell me what a good Invrosia time would be, but I am impressed. These guys are both going to finish, it appears, in the 140s. It's
Yeah,
not
I
too
feel
bad.
like this is a decent time. In my experience, I've done a few Invrosias. The time ranges from about, I think a quick one's probably about 130-ish, and then the long ones will run close to 2 hours. So they're not that far off from like an open. The big thing is that the Invrosia does have to front load a certain amount of progression. So yeah, by the time you get to Light World, you usually have a greater check efficiency because of all the progression items you already have.
Yeah, and I imagine that's balanced somewhat by the big key shuffle.
Yeah, because
it adds a little bit of time on average.
Yeah, you may be forced to double dip dungeons because of keys. It always does put that wrinkle into it. So yeah, I feel like the 140 is an all right time for Invrosia. Nothing wrong with it.
It's TheDaddyGamers finishing up land mode 2 as Floyd heads into Moldorm 2.
Oop, gets bullied off the edge. 1 point for Moldorm.
It's never simple with Moldorm.
It never is. I had a Moldorm 2 yesterday, or day before yesterday. He got stuck like on the right edge of the platform and literally just kept bouncing there. Would not give me an opportunity to hit him. And I didn't have boots, so I couldn't just dash in and try to get a joust hit. So I was just like, are you going to let me? Are you going to give me a chance? Like, nope, I'm just going to bounce here.
Yeah, I feel like the Light World bosses are a lot more trolly than the Dark World bosses between Landmo and the short hops and Moldorm with getting stuck or bouncing you off the edge.
They really are, yeah. All right, so Floyd's in our Aga 2 fight, and TheDaddyGamers is just about to get through the pre-Moldorm room. We are still not that far apart, but assuming Floyd does not make any grave errors in the ensuing Ganon fight here, we're going to be just about wrapped up.
Yeah, nice Aga 2 there. Not the friendliest of patterns, but he handled them well and took him down. I think that was 3 cycles.
No, that was all right. It was not bad. Getting a 3 cycle on that was it's respectable.
Yeah, and one thing that's going to give Floyd a little bit of an edge here is that gold sword is going to make it pretty trivial to get a 1-in-1 on the first 2 phases again in here, versus TheDaddyGamer's tempered sword. He can get the 1-in-1, but it's quite a bit harder.
Yeah. Of course, we are silverless. These guys are both looking at 12 spins after they get into phase 4. And we'll get to see in a moment where our other bow was, or at least a hint as to what area it's in. I'm going to guess Turtle Rock.
I think that's playing the numbers. But I'm going to say Hera just because.
Yeah, we never saw a look into Hera. That's true.
Oh, just missing on a couple of those energy balls for Daddy Gamers. But he takes down Agatu. He's on his way.
Light World. Okay, so that could be Magic Bat, Green Pendant Turn In, Ether Tablet, Mimic Cave. I think
Mimic
those are
Cave
our
is an
options.
interesting one, yeah. Ped.
Oh yeah, Pedestal, possibly even Lumberjack. I don't think we looked at that either.
No, yeah, we didn't.
And then, of course, Boots Luck checks. We know the boots are logically in this seed somewhere, so it could have also been like King's Tomb or Bonk Rocks, or even the Shovel. We never saw the Shovel either. That dig spot.
Yeah, so really the numbers game would have been to say Light World now that we've enumerated all the options.
Right? Oh, you thought about it. Like, wait a second. There are a ton of Light World checks I never saw. Well, so safe to say we were not going to stumble upon those silver arrows. Daddy Gamer's in phase 2. Floyd is working on his spins in phase 4, doing a pretty good job here, keeping things consistent.
Not sure why Floyd is continuing to use the lamp. He's got the torch glitch. Sort of denying himself the opportunity for triples here, but he gets his 12 spins in and takes down Ganon.
That's going to do it.
So get your GGs in chat for Floyd. He's going to finish with an unofficial time of 1:46.07.
We'll go by what's on the screen. Yeah, I don't have the race room handy, but I assume it's not that far off from that. Yeah. Actually, I guess I could look.
Meanwhile, Daddy Gamers is into phase 3, just completing phase 3 of his fight, and we'll just start his tempered spins now. He'll need 12 of these to finish up the fight. Seems to have made up a little bit of time here on Floyd. He was 2 minutes behind. He seems to have caught up a bit coming through Janet's tower.
Yeah, you two really aren't that far apart, all things considered.
Daddy Gamer's also opting to use the lamp for relighting the lamps, the torches here.
What if it's just a comfort thing? Like maybe they're not too practiced on the silverless, and they're just. I don't think. I wonder if they. I'm pretty sure they each have at least one green potion. I know they got another free green and an ice, so I don't think it's a potion thing either. It could just be comfort. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're worried about magic with the green potion, the half magic. I mean, half magic alone, you can get through this. You can make a couple of mistakes with a single magic bar and still get through a silverless fight just fine. Maybe Floyd will.
Ooh, took a fire bat there. Does he have another fairy? Oh, he does have 2 fairies. Oh, good deal. Okay.
I was worried.
I was very worried there too. I was like, oh no, please don't make that it very late in phase 4. That's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, I have been there. It is awful.
That was the last hit too. Oh no, that would have been so bad. Thankfully, he had the forethought to pick up 2 fairies and end up using them both. Good deal.
Yeah, so get your GGs in the chat for Daddy Gamers. With that Fairy Revive ending up just a hair over 2 minutes past Floyd's time, 1:48.15.
Yeah, well played to both these guys. So looking at the leaderboard for the bi-weekly here, that puts Floyd in 9th out of 18, and Daddy Gamers right behind him at 10th. So they're succinctly in the middle of the pack on this one. We've got in-game times ranging from an hour and a half up to 2:41. So we've there's a good completion range here. So the quickest was an hour and a half, courtesy actually of Jim Escher, who managed to find the best way to route this particular seed.
Congrats to Jamie Escher. Yeah, I could definitely see how you could shave 10 plus minutes off. You know, the routing here, if you manage to pick up that pod big key and the bow before dipping into pod, you think to do that early. Perhaps Jamie Sure did the kern jump as he suggested was possible. You know, that would save quite a bit of time not having to do AGA 1.
Oh,
But
absolutely, yeah.
well played by both of these guys. Yeah, this Invrosia inverted in general, not an easy mode to play. I think they executed really well. Not a lot of depths even early on when they were underpowered.
Yeah, no, they both did a good job of it. Like the early game on this one wasn't really too bad as far as Invrosia goes. They didn't have to really deal with any tough blind or moth fights, so it worked out well for them, honestly. Yeah, I think Invrosia is going to be a really interesting mode for racing because again, it is going to be a season 4 ladder mode, so you're going to get to see a lot more of it. I like, from a racing standpoint, how much diversion there's going to be because you're always going to have, like, you're going to get into the light world and you're going to have a ton of checks available, and that's probably the most interesting part of in inverted in general is just how do you go through the dark or light world once you get there. And even if you and your opponent get there within seconds of each other, you can take completely different routes and end up with vastly different times, just depending on the things you find. So it's very rando heavy, but I think it'll be great for watching races.
Yeah, and being a fairly new mode, I think there's a big opportunity for finding optimizations. So I'm excited to see it coming up in the ladder, next season of the ladder. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting mode.
Yeah, and I think one more time, want to give a shout out to our runners, Floyd and TheDaddyGamers. You can follow them. Wanted to thank Adilor for joining me on commentary. This was a lot of fun. And thanks to our tracker, Professor Render, and our restreamer, WesSideVandal.
And once again, if you find yourself here and you don't know what the GoMob podcast is, check out the podcast link right there in the chat. Episodes out every other Wednesday. Give it a listen. You might just learn a thing or two about the game. And if you want to hang out with us and get in touch with the community, play some friendly races, we've got our Discord link there as well. Feel free to come say hi. We're a friendly bunch.
And with that said, I think that'll do it for this restream. Thanks again, Adilor. Thanks, chat. And we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for co-calling with me, Monkey. It's been a real pleasure. And yeah, take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around for another one, probably in a couple weeks.